And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. We've spent a lot of work this week on, or week or two on Half. We made one change just very recently. Half the SQL serializer is now writing two new tables that were previously not written. One of the tables is a list of all the accounts that have been created, and the second is a table that relates the blockchain operations to the accounts that they impact. The impetus for this change was to speed up syncing of the account history app. Um, Previously, took SQL Serializer took about half the time to, I think, around on our fast machine around 5.5 hours, and then it took another, say, 6 or 7 hours at least for the account history plugin to app to basically sync. So around 14 hours total, as I recall. And now we're got it down to about 7. So pretty much half the speed of sync time for that. And those tables will also be useful for other apps. So I think it was a good change. And that's merged into develop now for the half repo. In other good news, we finished benchmarking the account history app with the latest JSON RPC server, and it's performing extremely well, as good as I was hoping even. On average, it's about 20x faster than the RocksDB plugin that it will replace. And for slow API calls, it's as much as 40x to develop now. So for half, practically speaking, that means one new account history node using this app can do the work of 20 of the old account history nodes. So that'll help in scaling quite a bit. The new solution also scales better as the blockchain grows in size. That's another thing we found during the benchmarking, which obviously is important since the blockchain is constantly growing in size. We also completed a new sample half app called Balance Tracker, and I say complete it, but it's not really totally complete. But we've got to complete it to where it functions. But we're going to add we need to add the server side to it and then a UI. So we've brought on two new guys to introduce to the project, and they'll be working on creating that user interface and the APIs that it uses. So it's a small project. It's just a good way to get them introduced, and they can give us feedback as sort of new programmers looking at Half for the first time and help us with clean up the documentation and things like that. In other news, we're working on the resource credit system to better match the cost to real world costs. It's kind of a challenging task, so it'll probably take a couple more weeks before that's completed. On deployment front, we deployed the new version 1.25.3 of Hive, and it's been running for about a week or so now, I think, on our servers, and we've got a dump file that other API servers can use to update their system. Let's see what else. Other than that, we are continuing to add testing to Hive D, so in Half and everything else. So still a lot of tests being created at this point. But I guess that's probably overview anyways of what's going on.
Okay, cool. I have a few questions for you. With the improvements you are doing, will there be any change in the requirement resources to run node?
Yes.
Worse or better?
Both.
Classic.
It's a multi-dimensional problem. So you know, the biggest improvement is performance. So your node will be able to do a lot more and less memory, I suppose. The higher cost comes in storage. There is a higher storage, and I've talked about this before, I think some. So I could throw numbers around at you, but I don't know if you want. So I mean, we know that what the block log is probably around 370 gigs right now. That won't change, of course. But the Hive Mind server is around 500 or 600 gigs right now, and we're probably talking closer to 2 gigs with a Half server. But that'll also we will no longer need the storage for the account history plugin, because that'll be replaced by the Half server. So I forget what the storage is for that is. Maybe Gandalf recalls. Do you remember what the storage is used by account history plug in?
Like 500 gigabytes. Currently.
So that'll be subtracted out. So, you know, it's a complicated equation. So, but overall, storage is if you want to have a really fast half server, you're going to want to have faster storage. So that's the other thing. I mean, we've been doing our benchmarks on a very, very fast rated NVMe, and that gives the best performance by far. That's how we get. I mean, we've got it now down to where calls that would take as much as, believe it or not, like 113 seconds. We noticed that some of the API calls would theoretically take 113 seconds to complete currently. And of course, that means in practice, they just failed if somebody made those calls. And on our new server, we're able to complete those calls in 3 seconds. So it's, you know, it's now realistic. Those calls won't fail on the server. But that is a system that has multiple NVMEs rated together. So, but yeah, I think overall you could say costs are down, but storage is up.
Okay. And another question: the RC reviewing you are doing, is it planned for Art Fork 26 or 27?
It's planned for 26, assuming it goes okay. So, but right now my assumption is we'll be able to fit it into 26.
Okay, and this leads to my last question to you. Do we have an expected date for Art Fork 26?
We don't yet. I think I think earliest we could do it would be late December, but probably January, February timeframe.
Okay, cool. The last question was actually on the on the meeting notes. Yeah, I think it would be better to aim for January so that like most of the witnesses and exchanges are not stuck in celebrations all around.
Yeah, and I just want to give us more time. I mean, just you know, the changes aren't huge, but it's more time is better, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. I just have one small question regarding the testnet startup times. Basically, I've had this, it's not like an issue, but like I think you guys don't have it somehow. Like the way you do testing with the test tools implies that you spin nodes like in, let's say, 5 seconds, when it can take up to like a minute or two for me, even though I'm on like a very fast NVMe. And I was wondering if you ever saw like very long testnet startup, like node spinning startup time or not.
I don't know the answer to that. Do you have? I don't know if Gandalf would know. Maybe we need to talk to one of our CI guys.
It's best to ask questions in the issue. It works fine for me, so hard to guess.
Okay. Okay, so it's probably something on mind. Okay, I'll probably raise an issue somewhere.
Yeah, I guess just in probably Hive D, you can ask an issue there.
Yeah, okay, cool. Icon, do you want to read your own points?
I'm sorry, what'd you say? Oh, the issues.
Basically, I can read a bunch of issues and figure might as well let him do the talk.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so about a vote, you provided me with an answer, but the question was, so you plan to remove the penalty for changing votes in the next art fork?
Yeah, that's already that's coded up. Just to explain how that works, because I felt like there might have been some confusion on this point. So when you drop your vote, you know, you still used up the mana for that vote. But what the difference is if the problem before was if you revote it on the same post, you would not get any curation rewards for your new vote. And now you will. So that's the change. So it doesn't, if you vote and then unvote, you're not, it's not like you get your vote back. You just don't get penalized if you re-vote it again.
Okay. My next question. Oh, yeah. Is it okay for you?
Yeah, I was just waiting for your next question. I was just
okay. So my next question was about recurrent transfer. I checked the code, and there is a validation check that is hours times recurrence should be lower than 730 days. So when you set the recurrence, the hours to 24, meaning 1 day, meaning you make a recurrent transfer every day, you can go up to 2 years. But if you set your recurrence to 30 days, you can only plan for 1 year. So I was wondering why the limit has been set in days and not in the total number of occurrences.
I guess this is a question for Hao.
Yeah.
I don't fully recall the reason originally. Oh yes, no, I know. The reason why was because sometimes if the block in which the recurrent transfer happens is missed, then it can basically go above and last longer. But wait, no, I think are we sure it's in hours? Because I think we made the whole change to be in recurrence. I need to look into the code for this, but I'm not. I think it's in recurrences. I think initially it was hours, and then it got changed. Bartek suggested that we changed it to recurrences. But was that an issue similar to?
You're saying recurrences? You mean in terms of occurrences?
Yeah, just numbers. Like
yeah, number of times.
Yeah, you said 200, and it goes down to 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I recall, it's something like this.
I guess we cannot change it. Or I don't know if we can change it or not, but it's a bit annoying because in one case you can plan your transfer up to 2 years, which is cool. When you have short occurrences, but when it's longer, you are limited to 1 year. It's just a bit annoying.
Oh, sorry, I completely missed it. I thought it was about like the number. The reason why was because it's more about how long the object stays in memory. It was basically a limitation that was set so that someone cannot create a ton of recurrent transfers in memory. Mm-hmm. It's purely a let's say soft forkable change. So technically we could change it in Half-Life 26, but it has to come with the RC changes at the same time so that we make sure that everything is set accordingly. We had a bunch of talks at the time about how we could like make people pay for the RC as it goes. And right now it's kind of like an approximation where you pay like a lot of RC upfront and we hope that it kind of matches, but it's not like an exact science right now.
Okay. My next question was about removing proposal 116 and 117.
These are the super long ones.
Yes, that's the gazillion HBD proposal.
Yes.
I can understand that we shouldn't do that, but it's annoying to see them for the next how many years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem either way. I mean, I think we know they're dead proposals, so it wouldn't bother me. That's for sure.
I kind of feel like we could just remove them from the front end because it kind of implies that we tamper with the untemperable. Which is
we're not tampering, right? We're just saying these proposals are dead, and we've changed the costs allocated for proposals. So, I know what you're saying, but I actually don't think. I think there's no one who's interested in those proposals, and I could be wrong.
Fair point. Fair point.
But I think I don't think it would be a big deal to remove them, but I don't know if it's worth even the code to do it. So.
Yeah, I think we could just do it in the front end because no one will actually look into the actual data and notice them. So we could just like remove them from the front end.
Yeah, but asking the front ends to remove it is kind of censorship.
I mean, so it's wanting to remove them from the blockchain itself.
Yeah,
I'm not sure there's a real difference there.
Yeah, but if we get consensus from the community or from the witnesses to say a bit like we did when we forked from Steam, saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying one is if we do it at the blockchain level, it's voted by stake. Whereas if we do it at the front end, it's just what each front end does.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, I'm mostly afraid of the like, is it worth it spending how many hours testing it more than the actual like implications, let's say?
Yeah, exactly that.
As Gandalf famously put it a few months ago, there is no such thing as a small change.
Okay, I give it.
Yeah,
a
I mean,
try.
I'm not opposed if somebody wants to do it. I'm not sure that's something we would want to be working on right now. But if somebody wants to take it on as a starter task or something, I guess they could.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay.
point. We could file an issue and also like
Yeah, I
discuss
mean,
it with the
I'd
community. See how
say
they
throw
feel.
an issue up about it and just leave it open. If somebody wants a relatively easy task to start learning with, they could take that on. I mean, because the work, as how was indicated already, is probably more in the testing of it than anything else. So which is something we'd want anybody new to really learn well, is how to test their stuff. So, and I think they can figure out the actual code quickly.
Issue?
I'd say you go ahead, throw one up.
Okay.
Yeah, just throw one in Hive and just leave it there.
Okay, so I will do it, and we will see what happens.
And you could maybe describe it as a starter issue for somebody who wants to learn how to work with the code.
Okay, cool. So my next question was about testnet. We have a permanent testnet, so we just spoke before of spinning one, but it would be cool to have a permanent one that people can play with.
Yeah, well, we did, and go ahead, Gandalf. I'll let Gandalf take this one.
Yeah, okay, so there was a testnet and it expired because of this hard limit on the block, and the next one, we need to figure out which version we should start. I guess we can start with current head of develop, and then we will see how it goes. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say we go with that one until we, have something substantial to move to.
Mm-hmm. And when I say testnet, it's something that developers can play with, not a testnet to test new features of the next hard fork.
Yes. It's about to have as much. Yes, like
it's to have a test. It's like a test platform where people can do things without doing things on the main chain. But nonetheless, we'll be running the new code, because the new code will actually function like the existing code until the hard fork time.
Mm-hmm.
To the main extent. It might be a little faster, but other than that.
Okay. So maybe we should have two testnet classic and testnet hard fork.
I mean, we'll at some point take that test. I'd say at some point we take the develop, and we'll just put it into a hard fork mode. So when we get close to the hard fork, I don't really want to run two test nets, because one is enough work. But and I mean, anybody can always run their own too, right? But I think what we'll do is, just before we get ready to hard fork, then we'll restart the test net with it prepared to hard fork after a day or two.
Okay, and my last request was about keeping the regularity in our regular meetings. So I can understand that we are all over the world and there are holidays and so on, but shifting times, hours, and weeks and days is really a mess to manage. And if we could stick to 1 day, 1 time, and one every 2 weeks, and then stick to it, would be better, easier to manage.
I don't think we changed the time in like a year now, but yeah, I totally hear you.
We are always shifting from 1 week because we have nothing to say, and then the next week we say, okay, we will shift 1 week again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but is there a point to having a meeting if we don't have anything to talk about?
Then skip it until the next edition. If we have nothing to say, that just skip it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Skipping.
But don't shift it from 1 week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So no shift, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so that way you want a schedule for the next year, and you know exactly at which date we will meet, and optionally we will skip some. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm always
Yeah.
surprised that the meeting is coming.
Yeah, my main issue is Lad says yes. Yeah, okay. It's mostly my bad. It's very often that I struggle to find subjects in advance, but then then sometimes I find them and I'm like, oh, I need to organize it. But yeah, I'm totally down to like set everything like 2 weeks per 2 weeks, and like we are dead set on that. So yeah, totally down for that.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. Anything else?
That's all for me.
Nothing else on my side.
Okay, great.
Well,
Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Thank you all.
See ya.
See you.
Okay. See
Thank
you.
you. See you.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yes.